Well, we've got a bit of good news, bad news going on today. The good news is at the halfway point of the season, we're only 4 points behind dominant Manchester United. The bad news is they're 5 points behind Tottenham and we can't have them winning the league, surely. Hello and welcome to Club 6 Part 25 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we're away against West Brom in the Premier League, then also away against Manchester City in the FA Cup. I want a cup run this year. It'd be nice to win the FA Cup, plus just to see how we get on against Manchester City. Important business. Firstly, Kasper Dolberg did sign his contract extension in the end. Brighton, who we lost to on the first day of the season and used that as an excuse to completely change the entire tactic, they're level on points with us halfway through this season. Perhaps it wasn't that much of a disaster to lose to Brighton after all. And they are a good example of a team who've wisely invested, us giving them a pile of cash. So we gave them £45 million for Jordan Davidson, and they've used it to build a team that's got them into the Champions League potentially. So well played, Brighton. You won this round. They've also done the double over us this season. And we had been in really good form. You saw it in the last episode. We'd been in really good form. Not so much in the last 5 games, losing against our old club Leicester, losing again against Brighton, picking up a couple of wins in between, but narrow wins. We're struggling to score goals at the moment. Only 3 goals scored in the last 5 games, and we did draw against Liverpool as well. And Liverpool have been massively struggling this season. They currently find themselves just outside the relegation zone, as do Leicester. So we're losing against teams we really, really should be capable of beating. It's very, very, very silly. This is going to be the team that we put out there for today's episode. Oh, by the way, transfer window's open and we have got a little bit of money to spend. So I'm thinking a midfield player. We haven't got one identified yet, but at some point this month, I think a midfield player might be coming in. I think we do need another one, as shown by the fact that we're having to play Sentonzi today in midfield because we just haven't got any more central midfield players. They're all out injured. I was going to say injured or suspended, but I think they are all injured. So Henrique's injured. Junior David is returning from injury. They're the 2, I guess, who are missing. We don't actually have much in the way of central midfielders if we're going to be playing with this 4-3-1-2 going forward. And I think we probably are, because Reece Nelson has just asked for a transfer, and I said yes. So Reece Nelson is going to be leaving, who has been an important player for us for the last couple of years, but for Arsenal for the last 10 years. We're letting him go. He's worth a lot of money, £30 million for a player, age 29. If we can get anywhere around that £30 million, add it on to the 16 million we've already got, we could go out and buy a 40 or £50 million central midfield player, which I think we probably need as we're more focused on that central midfield now. So we've got Vice in goal, a back 4 of Sarr, Felipe, Alex and Suma, with Davidson, Leshy and Sentonzi in midfield, and Schaefer in behind Dolberg and Pingu. They are reunited finally. It's been a little while, but they are finally back together. Pingu has been scoring a few goals recently as well. Just as basically Dolberg played out of his skin, earned a new contract, even though he would have got one anyway, but was refusing earlier in the season, but got his new contract, dragged us back up into the Champions League qualification positions, and then signed his new contract and just stopped scoring. Oh, and by the way, we're playing Monaco in the first knockout round of the Champions League, one of the 2 teams who have been chasing Dolberg for the last year. And basically a team who we tried to sign their entire defence over the summer. They're a good team. They're better than us, I dare say. The French league itself was... Well, Pingu and Dolberg were back together for a long time, weren't they? Bring on Salcedo. I mean, perhaps we need a striker. Perhaps we need to bring back Willis, who's been out on loan. In fact, he's on loan at West Brom, I think. It's obviously not in their team today. But perhaps we'll see how he's been getting on. If he's been playing regularly and scoring goals for them, we'll call him back. And he can be our 4th choice option. Hutchings, there doesn't seem a lot of point in bringing him back. He's been on loan at Bournemouth all year and he isn't getting in their team. I know he had that good half a season when I first arrived at Arsenal, along with Tommy Merson. Merson emerged then as well. But Merson actually turned out to be quite good. Hutchings was kind of a half-season wonder and has never been the same since. Sarr took an age to get that cross in. I mean, how long did it take him to get onto the end of that pass? But he just took his time and crossed it perfectly, so I can't really argue. Look at him from the other angle. He just slows down massively. You got a ball to chase there. But he just took so long, but it was a perfect cross, giving everyone the opportunity to make their way into the penalty area. And perhaps Dolberg and Pingu don't get on, because while Pingu's been back in the team, Dolberg's not been scoring. Pingu goes off injured, Dolberg scores within 10 minutes. So perhaps Kasper Dolberg can only score when he's the only striker. Interesting. Or what's also interesting, Man City having another bad season. They finished mid-table last year and are now well off the pace again this year. But Chelsea, who pushed Man United all the way last year. In fact, did Chelsea win the league last year? I think Chelsea won the league last year and have now absolutely collapsed. They're down in 10th place. I mean, the only constant in that top two for the 11 seasons of this save has been Manchester United. There have been a couple of teams who flirted with it. I think Chelsea and Man City are the two who've also won leagues in that time, but they've both fallen apart. So I guess as an official representative of Arsenal Football Club, I probably, as much as it pains me to say it, wouldn't be against Tottenham winning the league this year if they then crumbled down and became a mid-table team and it became a top three of us, Man United, Brighton and Everton, which is what it seems to be turning into at the moment. Wolves are always there or thereabouts as well. In fact, looking at that league table, for being only 11 seasons into this save, I don't know if I've seen such a drastically different Premier League landscape as we've got right there in my history of playing Football Manager. For it to be that different this early, for the teams challenging for the Champions League spots. I mean, I know us, Man United and Tottenham, fairly standard, but Brighton, Everton, Wolves, Leeds, Huddersfield, that you don't expect them to be in the chasing pack, but they very much are. Dolberg's in again, forces a good save out of the West Brom keeper. I'm a little bit nervy, only being one goal up. We have found it so difficult to score goals just recently that if West Brom do grab an equaliser, I'm not overconfident that we're going to go and grab a winner. So a second goal before they score would obviously be delightful, and I'm not even considering an option where they don't score, because obviously they're going to score. This is a Kev team. Just make that one substitution for now. Merson on for Schaefer because he's Tommy Merson. He's Mr. Arsenal. He's not good enough to get in our team anymore, but he's still Tommy Merson. He's still going to stay here forevermore because he's Tommy Merson. Davidson over to the aforementioned Mr. Merson. Salcedo plays it out to Suma. Cross comes in, and I mean, I think that came off a West Brom player, deflected towards the goal. Their keeper made a really good save, and then it kind of just trickled around in the area. And somehow, Dolberg wasn't the first to react to it, which seems a little bit lazy on his behalf. Right, we're getting this desperate in midfield now that we're playing Martelot in midfield. He can play there, but he really, really shouldn't. But when we've got players who aren't playing well, we've got players who are shattered. It was only in the last episode we were talking about how we were so much fitter than the other teams we were playing. This Christmas period, games have come so thick and fast that any fitness advantage we have is long gone. And that might even be what's caught up with us and why our form has gone down the toilet a little bit, because we play a high-tempo, high-pressing game and we're shattered because we're playing so many games on a relatively small squad, because I've basically ruled out huge sections of my squad like Roberts, like Nelson, like DVD. So you can effectively take them out of the squad, add in the injured players as well. And from an attacking point of view, we've got basically 8 attacking players, 6 positions that we need to fill. There's not been much opportunity for rotation, so the players that are playing are either getting injured, like Pingu, or they're just tired and can't play that high pressing, high tempo game that we're trying to play. So hopefully once the fixtures start to spread out a little bit again, we then come back into our own. That's my theory. I mean, a good manager would obviously tweak the tactic up at this point and take all that into account rather than just looking like a backseat driver genius afterwards and figuring out what the problem is after it's too late to fix it. But now we do get a week off, and then we play Manchester City in the FA Cup third round. Right, I have some transfer business to bring you up to speed on. Haven't signed a central midfielder yet because I'm Kev, so I've obviously just done something else entirely. DVD has gone to Barcelona for £45.5 million, which I think, for a player who'd only played for us once this season and was never going to get back into the team because he's a winger, I think that's a cracking piece of business. Unfortunately, because we still haven't got any money, I only got 25% of that to go back into investing money. I wanted a striker and a midfield player, so I've brought a striker in, Bill Robbins. Yeah, 2-star current ability, but he does have potential to be a leading Premier League striker in the future. He had a 93 rating on my scout report. He looks like he should be a good striker, but for whatever reason, he's moved around a little bit over the years. Never really got... I mean, I say he's never really had the opportunity, but he has had opportunities at Stoke, at Bournemouth. Not really so much at Tottenham this year, but for 4 million quid, he fills a spot on the bench, as will Willis when he comes back. I've hit recall on Ben Willis. He's not going to be back in time for today, but Ben Willis has 7 goals from 10 starts in the Premier League for West Brom. Both of those two are going to add some competition for places as strikers, which leaves us with £23 million to go and buy a midfielder with. I'm still trying to get Patrick Roberts and Reece Nelson out of the club. Roberts looks like he's going to be going out on a loan to Leeds for the rest of the season. They've offered to pay 100% of his £105,000 a week wages, which no one offered transfer money for him. I'm happy to let him go out on loan. So it just means we need to get rid of Reece Nelson in the next couple of weeks, and if we can then bring in a midfielder and possibly a right back, because we are looking at a right back as well. James Gibbons, again, a budget option. He's not going to be the best right back in the world, but he is England's current starting right back. He's got, where is he? 3-star current ability, no potential to get older. He's 27. To get older? He has got potential to get older, I hope. But he's 3-star current ability, no potential to improve necessarily. But, I mean, he's been around a little bit. He's another one of these youngsters who I did try and sign years ago from Manchester United and never really had any joy getting a hold of him. But he's got lots and lots of experience. And West Brom don't need him. We do. So we'll bring him in, sell Reece Nelson. And then we have a right back. We have a couple of new strikers, or a new striker plus a returning loanee. And then we just need that midfielder for strength in depth for the missing piece of the puzzle. And having that back door open means my hay fever kicks off, which isn't so good. Pingu is injured for a few weeks again now, so Salcedo comes into the team. We're going to have Robbins and Sandu on the bench today. Willis will be back in time for the next game. But more importantly, Junior David is fit enough to play against Manchester City, so he comes into the team as well, with Martelot coming back in at left back, Sarr dropping back down to the bench. Let's give Bill Robbins a squad number 36. Number 36, Bill Robbins. He's one of those weird transfers where he's a complete gamble for not very much money. He's come from our big rivals Tottenham, who've signed him for £1 million, given him one substitute appearance and sold him on to us for 4 million, and are probably laughing their faces off at that. He was on the transfer list there as well, so they were already done with him, having signed him in the summer. I wonder if he's maybe a bit of a troublemaker. There's got to be something that stopped him from fulfilling his potential with all of the games that he apparently has played over the years. But for £4 million, we'll have a look at him for the rest of this season. If he's rubbish, we'll let him go. He's only here and on a contract until the end of next season. He might do a Tommy Merson. Tommy Merson was about that age when we gave him his breakthrough. I know he was one of our own, but he was 23, 24 when we brought him into the team for the second half of the season. And now he's a Premier League regular, England regular. And he was a 2-star player when we did that. So I'm feeling a little bit player developy, and just the satisfaction of bringing in a player from Tottenham for £4 million and having him go on to become a leading Premier League striker, like his scout and coach reports say that he could be. That's appealing as well. I won't pretend that's not appealing. Right. Salcedo. I'm in two minds about whether I want to keep Salcedo or not. I think in the interest of not having too much churn during January, especially keeping an eye on the Champions League and knowing that some of these players that we're going to bring in, probably not Robbins, but any decent level player probably isn't going to be able to play in the Champions League because they'll already be cup tied in Europe this year. So we can't get rid of too many stars and try and replace them with top quality players. And on that basis, I think we keep Salcedo for the rest of the season. But as he's still not a natural striker, if we can get a 40, 50 million pound offer, a similar deal to what we did with DVD, if we can get that kind of money for Salcedo, I'm probably of a mind to let him go in the summer. That's right, planning a bit more long term at Arsenal now. I feel like that Manchester United game yesterday will go down in history as a turning point in the history of the Premier League. And I kind of want to see it through now. If we have another pathetic season where we just look rubbish, then I'll probably still move on. And realistically, I am still going to be looking to move on, but only abroad. I'm not moving to a different English team now. If a big European job comes up, then we'll jump. Don't panic if you're desperate to see me leave Arsenal. I've not ruled it out, but as we saw last summer, with both Real Madrid and Juventus refusing to even give me interviews, the chances of me walking out into an equivalent job in another country aren't so great. So I don't really fancy dropping down to a lower mid-table team in France or wherever else it might be. We're at Arsenal at the moment. We don't need to go and slum it at someone who's not already in the Champions League. We made that mistake once before when we left Leicester to join a team not in the Champions League. And goodness me, do I still hear about that most days. Here we go, we're getting back into this tie now. Salcedo plays it forward to Dolberg, who's got time and space, and, I mean, that was rubbish. Rubbish from Kasper Dolberg. And this is the opportunity to bring on the new boy. Come on, Robbins. Bill Robbins makes his Arsenal debut. What do you want to be, Bill? You want to be an advanced forward? You be an advanced forward. I'm going to bring Sandu on to play with you. We'll go for 2 players trying to make a name for themselves in the Premier League. We're going to play you that way round, actually, I think. And we're going to take Junior David off as well because we don't want to break him. Stick Merson in behind. So a completely different front 3 for the last 20 minutes of the game, which presumably we're going to lose. But as long as we beat Man City in the league next week, this is just a practice before the league game. As long as we beat them in the league, it doesn't matter what happens in the FA Cup. It's only the FA Cup. The fewer cups we're in, the better. And I know full well I said earlier in this very video we were going to have a cup run this year, but perhaps that cup run will be in the Champions League instead of the FA Cup. We can beat Monaco. Of course we can beat Monaco. It would be nice for us to put up a little bit of fight against City, though. Although, to be fair, looking at the stats again, and it's been a common theme in these games that we've lost recently, even when we're losing games, on paper, I think we look like the better team. We've had more, we've created more chances than they have. Yes, they've had more shots, but ours have been better chances. But we're 2-0 down. We're just not getting the luck at the moment. Don't worry, we have a new right back on his way in from West Brom, so... Imagine being an Arsenal fan. Oh, the Arsenal fan TV comments that I get every day. Goodness me. From the highs of yesterday's video to I've decided to sign a reserve from Spurs and West Brom's right back. I've sold a world-class winger. We happy with all of that? No, we're not happy with any of that. Don't worry, I've got a plan. People said I had to either take the squad that I've got and build a tactic around them, or pick my tactic and build a squad around that tactic. Well, I'm doing the second one. I don't care about reputation. I've spent 2 years pandering to the reputation of these players, playing in a tactic I don't want to play. Now's the time to move on anyone who doesn't fit into the Kev system and see what I can find from the dregs of the Premier League reserves and lesser teams. Robbins played a decent through ball to Sandu a minute ago, and Sandu missed completely, by the way. So, Robbins is going to be a star. I hope. Come on, Bill. Grab a goal for me. Show me I was right to spend 4 million quid on you. At least show me something. We've had 2 clear-cut chances. They've had none. It is frustrating when games go this way. Robbins, again. What can he do this time? That was a poorer pass, Bill. Come on now. I've put a lot of faith in you. You're a gamble that I'd like to pay off. Thank you. Merson tries to find Sandu. All our passes are... I mean, I don't know if the common factor in all these passes going wayward is the fact they're all aimed at Sandu. Perhaps he just runs in weird patterns. Suma plays it forward to Sandu. Robbins is in the middle. He squares it to Robbins. Bill Robbins has scored on his debut. £4 million well spent. There you go. That's the start of a beautiful relationship between me and William Robbins. What a hero. I mean, it's the easiest chance he'll ever have, but... That's a good way. You come over as a Tottenham reserve, announce yourself on Arsenal by scoring on your debut away against Man City. I know we've lost. I know we've been knocked out of the FA Cup. But I think that goal, that's significant. And we did have 3 clear-cut chances to their 0. So that bodes well going into the Premier League game that's still to come as well. But there you go. Bill Robbins, what a superstar. Is there a report about Bill Robbins being a superstar? There you go. Delighted that their new man made an instant impact. I'm delighted too. Good work, Bill Robbins. If you enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.